Hello, my beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of Irrelevant the Podcast. I'm your host, Marissa Womack, and this is the H episode, and I have a special guest, Olivia Stepp.
Hi everyone, I'm so excited to be here today. Just to introduce myself, I'm a senior at South Carolina, which is crazy for me to say. Time is going by way too fast, but something that I just love to do is career building and networking. And so I'm here today to share with you guys what I've learned so far through the past few years of school.
Yeah, so this episode is gonna basically be like a rundown of how to be successful in life. Um, Liv has done like a lot in her college career that is like very impressive. And so having her on here to just kind of build that up and build up y'all's confidence on where to even begin. Yeah, so we can just jump on into the first thing about how
Awesome.
to network.
Yes, for sure. So, definitely, I think the most important thing is to just take every opportunity that you get, no matter how small or large it could be. You never know who you might meet, which is something that's super cool. So, I think for me, like I just started out, I had a class that I was taking. It was retail entrepreneurship, and our instead of like doing assignments for the whole semester, we helped a small business in Columbia open up her shop. It's called A Little Happy if you've ever been there. Great store. Definitely recommend
Yeah.
to go there if you're in the area. But we worked with her all semester, and I asked her at the end of the semester if she wanted an intern, and she had never had an intern before, so she was like, I mean, I guess. But I ended up just taking that opportunity, and I had such a great experience. And then I think having that experience like has led me to other bigger opportunities. So like they all just like kind of run together in a way.
With me for like sports management, we had to do a paper where we like interviewed a bunch of people for it. And at the end, he was always like, ask them if they have internship opportunities. And that's how I got my current internship with Georgia Swarm, just because I knew someone who already worked for them. And I just like went ahead and reached out and was like, hey, do you guys need more interns? And then I start one with the Charleston River Dogs. This season, I'm their promotional and marketing intern. And that kind of came from interviewing other people
Yeah.
that work for Charleston River Dogs.
No, definitely. And I think that kind of leads into like the second thing. It's just to like to talk to everyone and introduce yourself, and like being someone that's like friendly and smiling and outgoing like can really, really take you far. When I was worked at the PGA Championship this past spring, I was a merchandise intern there, and basically our job was we built the entire merchandise tent from start to finish. And then during tournament week, like our main job was helping the vendors out. So they had vendors from like Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, Peter Millar, Vineyard Vines, like Cutter and Buck, you name it. Like people that worked for them were there, Ralph Lauren. And so I took it upon myself to literally introduce myself to every single sales rep that was there. And that was probably the smartest decision that I have ever made, because I gained all these connections, all these people for the industry that I want to work in. And when it's come to apply to internships and jobs, like I have all these people that I can reach out to, and they remember me because I introduced myself. I talked to them like the whole tournament week, and like I was putting in the effort to be there to help them and get to know them and kind of hear their story. And I mean, it can be very intimidating to do. I was so nervous like my first few times just going up to people, but once you start doing it, it gets a lot easier and shows a lot of initiative. And something else that I like to do is having business cards to give out to people. And especially if you get cards that are made that have your picture on it. Then they have like a way to put your face to a name. I think that's really helpful too.
Yeah, and through like HRSM, they give us business cards like at the beginning of
Yes.
one of our classes. So even just having those like on you is really nice, especially like going to career fairs. We had to go to one. Um, and I would say literally just like going to those. Like I started going to all of them now, and that's how you reach out to people, even if it's something that you don't want to go into, like still going and showing
Yeah.
up and being nice to them.
And then it's like you have no idea who like these people could know. Like even if you don't work for them, like these people have so many other connections of their own that they could lead you towards the right direction, which is so just like being nice with everyone and smiling and just being friendly, it really, really does help and can land you a job. Unless
Just
you have
like
anything else to
for,
add.
I remember for one of them, it was like Altered State had come, and I have like no real
Hmm.
interest in merchandise and like retail and all of that stuff. But I do like social media, obviously, and like having a podcast and knowing kind of how to market that way. Like, it doesn't matter what field I go into, like, marketing is always something that can be wanted. And so I kind of like stepped back because me and this girl named Lily, like, we were going around all of them, and like, she was retailing and I was sports. So we would stop at each other's and just kind of like help promote each other in a way. But I ended up
Yeah.
talking to the guy at Altered State, and he was like, "Well, we need an intern for this. I mean, I can't take it obviously just because I have to do my 295, but it was still like nice talking to
Yeah.
him and like being able to just be able to put my name out there, especially in case one day I do end up going into merchandise or something like that."
Yeah, definitely. No. So yeah, just like building your network as early as freshman year is so important. I really did not start really networking until I would say, honestly, the end of sophomore year, and I definitely think that's something that I wish I did earlier. I mean, like I'm gonna be fine either way, but I definitely think the earlier that you can just jump in and start networking is definitely the best. So next is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably my favorite social networking app. Like it's so funny. Like I'll be out at dinner just like scrolling on LinkedIn, like always on LinkedIn. But if you're in college and don't have a LinkedIn, you need to stop. After you listen to this episode, you need to download it and make an account because it is the best networking social platform that there is. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're probably familiar with it. But I would say definitely start a LinkedIn. And that way, when you are at these career expos or you are working an internship, it's such an easy way to build your network because you can just connect with these people as soon as you meet them. And that way, when you're looking for an internship or a full time job, you can reach back out to these people when you're doing that. Actually, so when I was working at the PGA, I met and talked to these guys that worked for Ralph Lauren for so long that week. Like we were like best friends by the end of the week. And so of course, like I have them on LinkedIn, and so I messaged one of them because I had applied for the Ralph Lauren internship, and they had told me back in May, they were like, "Look, like you need to apply for our internship, and when you do, send us a message, and we'll put in a good word for you to HR, like all that kind of stuff." And so sure enough, as soon as I applied, I messaged him, and he hadn't seen it yet, and I ended up following up on his message because I had gotten my offer that I took, and so I was like, actually, like you don't have to anymore. But he was like, please keep Ralph Lauren in mind, like loved meeting you and all that kind of stuff. So like just like being able to still utilize those connections is so important and just a great like without LinkedIn, I wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah, LinkedIn, I actually talk about it literally every single day. I love going on there, and it's seriously my favorite game. I just hit like 500 connections, and
Yes,
I
it's the
like started
best.
freaking out. Yeah. And I like personally, well, because we had to add a lot of people just to like get interviews and things like that. But then I
Uh-huh.
started like going on their connections and like talking to their, like I'll always send like a little message whenever I like request to connect with someone.
Uh-huh.
And two of my friends, they like one of them is about to graduate college and she doesn't have a LinkedIn. And I was like, I'm literally gonna make you an account and you're just gonna like I'm just gonna go through my people and my connections and find you people to connect with. But yeah, I we had to get graded on it for my class and at the end they gave out
Uh-huh.
superlatives and I got a LinkedIn superlative and I was like, I'm proud.
Oh, that's great. No, I like my like LinkedIn is probably like my favorite thing to brag about. Like I've spent so much time just like perfecting it and making it perfect. And so I think that is another thing that like I'll talk about this more later, but like setting like how to make yourself stand out from others and like having an impressive LinkedIn profile that's very put together and organized and has your resume on it and all the things I think can really make you stand out from other people.
Yeah, and especially like when you get like opportunities and just like working special events, like you can just make a little post and just be like, oh, I did this, and you can tag those people, and then they put on your thing, basically boosting you. So it makes it look even better for other people when they go on your profile, which I think is super nice.
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree with that.
You have portfolio website.
Yes. So, this was something that I made about actually like a year ago around this time. I didn't start my internship search for last summer until about January of 2022, which was a mistake. I think it's so important to start applying for internships like October, November. But that's just also
Mhm.
personally for me because like I'm a huge planner and like to know what I'm doing in 6 months. And so the fact that I already have that figured out right now is great for me. But that's really beside the point. I got sidetracked. But so I was just trying to like find ways to like stand out from other people. And so I had seen a few people have portfolio websites. I really haven't seen that many people do it, but I think that it is such a great way to stand out from other people. So if anybody wants to go look at mine for an example, it's www.oliviastepp.com. Basically, on it, it has like an about me page. So just like a little bit about my story of like why I want to work in retail and all of that. And then it has like a tab for my work. And so I've put a lot of things such as the merchandise tent that I helped with at the PGA, the drone video for that's on there. Um, the College of HRSM wrote an article about me, that's on there. Um, some social media design, analytics stuff is on there. So just I think it just gives visuals to your resume. So I mean, almost every single job application when you're applying has like an optional URL that you can add. And so that's when I always put in my portfolio website. And I think it really is a great way to stand out from other people because a lot of people do not have one. So I would definitely utilize that if you want to put the time in to do it. It took me probably a month to design it and get it ready, but 100% worth it for sure. And I made mine on Squarespace, super easy, and they have a lot of different like templates that can help you build your site, which is super easy.
Yeah, I have like a mine's deactivated right now because I don't want to pay the monthly fee. That's the only reason. Um, but
No,
I
yeah, I
use
get that.
Squarespace. Yeah, but right now, like I don't need it as much. And because I haven't quite built my portfolio where I want it to be. But yeah, I would definitely
Mhm.
say even if you don't have it registered, like just make it and deactivate it and then add things that you need. And then when you really do need it, I would say it's worth paying the monthly fee, especially if you want to get
Yeah, I
into
agree.
programs.
No, yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, I probably need to turn mine off because I already have an internship and I really won't need this for until after the summer, until the fall. But 100% think that it's a great thing to have and utilize, and it really can make you stand out from other people.
Yeah. Well, and you, like, some people might not know, but Liv runs our t-shirt committee. She's a t-shirt chair. Her term has kind of finished. It's about to finish up.
Come to an
But
end.
yeah, but like you do get to kind of put those designs on your portfolio, which looks nice, especially like
Yeah,
if you are in a sorority and like you sometimes putting your sorority on your resume can be iffy depending on your industry, but like for you specifically, having that on there and then also being able to go on your
yeah,
website and
definitely.
like being able to see what you do.
No, definitely. And also, like, um, I'll get to this when we're about to talk about resumes, but like the t-shirt share stuff is something I don't really like express or show that much to on my resume because I think that there's just more important things that I've done other than that. But it's such stuff like that, like getting involved in things on campus are really good things to talk about during interviews, more so than resumes. So I think just a lot of this, like building your resume and preparing for interviews and all those things, is really just such a personalized experience because obviously everybody has different experiences. And so it's kind of like up to you, like what you want to do, what you want to exemplify, if you think the portfolio website's the right choice for you. But this is really just so personalized and
Well, we can jump into resumes.
perfect. I think a resume is seriously like the make or break it when you are applying to jobs. Like it is so important and it is probably the most annoying thing to make in the world because I don't know about you, but like I'm such a perfectionist. Like before that thing gets submitted everywhere, I'm checking over it 10 times and it took me so long to like find the right format and that's because I was making it way too pretty. Like it was colorful, it was had my monogram on it. Like no, like you do not need any of those things. And I think like at first like I wasn't getting interviews back because I like my resume was too fancy, like it wasn't focusing on the important things. So I think it's very important to just have a very plain, boring resume with regular white page, Times New Roman, Arial font, because these people don't care what your resume looks like. They want to know what's on it. And it's way easier to read too. Like if it's just boring.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks because like I would love my resume to be pink and beautiful, but like I know that like that's not going to get me a job. So that's a sacrifice you have to be willing to make is to put the pretty one aside for the ugly, but you'll get a better job. I almost
Yeah.
guarantee you. If you make it just
Well,
plain
I
and
think,
that's how they teach us to do it at school too. So,
yeah. Well, I think for like journalism, like if you are someone who's going into graphics on your LinkedIn, it's okay to have a fun one, but it needs to be one that like
yes.
my friend, she has one that's like the wrapped like Spotify style, and hers is super cool, but it's like that's only on her LinkedIn. That's not what she submits to places. Like she has her very
Yeah.
clean cut out one, but she also has a fun one.
No, yeah, definitely. So, yeah, kind of like going back to what I said, like it is so personalized depending on your major. Because I mean, some or a lot of people that even are in journalism or they're doing the graphic design, a lot of them have to submit art portfolios to go with their application
Mhm.
anyways. So I think just it's always safer than sorry. Just have a plain resume, but it'll take you far places just if it's boring. But also just some like little pointers, tips, basic tips that you've probably heard before. Never let your resume be 2 pages unless you're in grad school. My resume could probably be 4 pages, but obviously can't do that. So my biggest tip for that is to make a full resume with everything on it, and then when you're applying to a job, you can move your experiences around to best fit that job. I definitely think that's a great way to go about it. Don't put your LinkedIn link on your resume. It's not like they can really click on it when they're looking at it. And usually you can add that in on an application. Only put your GPA if it's 3.5 or higher. Also, I saw somebody do this and this was weird. They like had a section for their hobbies. I don't really think
What?
that's necessary. Like it was it they had I'm trying to remember like what this kid had on his resume. It was like his hobbies and then it was something super random like hat making or it was so like you don't need to put your hobbies on your resume. Like don't do it. And then like
Yeah.
obviously like for a skills section, I know a lot of people have this and usually they're super generic words. I think you can 100% cut that out and put them in your job descriptions. And using quantitative data in your descriptions is a great way to show what you did and the progress that you made over the course of your internship or job. And so, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, resumes are so important. They really are the make or break for whether or not you get a job interview. Have people look over it, go to your career center at your school, and you'll be good. But it definitely is something that you want to put a lot of time and effort into because it is so important.
Yeah. I think like for the skills part, like if it is like basic words, but I know like for me, I have my skills section and it's pretty much all my certifications for like
Yeah,
Excel
so is
and like
mine.
Adobe and things like that. But it's like if you don't have certifications, I wouldn't really put skills if it's like
No, definitely.
communicative
Like,
or like something
no,
random.
exactly. Yeah, that does not need to be like put into a skills section because people can read that those are your skills through what you're saying and your descriptions. Like they
Hmm.
don't need to know that you can do social media marketing. They're going to read that from your description.
Yeah. And I think like going along with the hobbies, like community service is another one that I know a lot of high schoolers have in their resume, which like makes sense because they don't have a lot of experience. But as you go along with college and like with applications, you will typically be asked in an interview if they like want to know about what you've done in the community, but like other than that, like I wouldn't add it to your resume unless it's like you started a nonprofit kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that completely. And yeah, no, I agree.
Okay, so going along with back to what you had said about applying for internships and everything like that, we have had to find an internship or a job. For me personally, I like to
Yeah,
look at least 6 months in advance, like you. Like, I am very put
yeah,
together of just like, I need to know what I'm doing because, especially if you're moving and you have to find an apartment or leasing or anything like that, it's good to have that already. But also, like, for the internship that I just got, it was like a quick process. Like, I applied and
hmm,
then 2 days later had an interview. 2 more days later, talked to the manager and then got offered the position by that Wednesday, especially with holiday seasons coming up. Most sports teams have to fill it before they go like after break because then it's like
yeah,
they have like a limited amount of time.
no, yeah. You need to like, I mean, so many good internships. The applications go up in the fall and close mid October, early October. So if you're not really on top of it, like starting September, October, like you could really lose out on a bunch of really cool jobs. And funny enough, the internship that I just accepted, I saw it on TikTok, which I didn't even list this as a place to find an internship. But there was just this girl that I follow on TikTok, and she had posted it, and I was like, like I've never seen an NFL team like hire a retail intern. It was the only team that I've seen do that, and so I applied for it. So shout out to that girl for posting the Dolphins internship on her account.
Yeah, I know there was an NBA like thing and it only had like 2,000 likes. I didn't end up applying just because um I think you had to be a junior for it. And that's another thing, like
Yeah.
there's certain requirements for a lot of it. But I know like there are times where like even TikTok, like TikTok will post when they have internships randomly. So it like
Yeah.
if you really go out of your way to find an internship, people see that, and especially like in your application, if it says like where you saw it, like people look at those things.
No, it was so funny when I was talking or interviewing with the HR girl from the Dolphins. She was like, "So like how did you find this internship?" I was like, "Actually, like I saw it on TikTok." And like she thought that was like so funny, and like she was like, "I've not heard anybody say that." So I thought that was funny because like the TikTok that the girl had made about the job like went viral. So like I was assuming that she would have heard that from somebody, but probably not, because I feel like a lot of people that want to work in sports like find everything off of Teamwork Online. And Teamwork Online, if you want to work in sports, is 100% the best place to find an internship.
Yep, where I find all mine.
No, like Teamwork Online, I didn't even know that it existed until like 2 months ago, and it's great. So if you're looking to look in sports, I would definitely start there, and then also Handshake. I know we do a lot of our career stuff through Handshake at school, but I think anybody can use it. And then LinkedIn, like we've already talked about, it's great. And then I would say use Indeed sometimes. That's not one that I usually go and look for an internship, but I'm doing a remote internship next semester with a company based out of California. And it was such a good opportunity. And somehow I just like randomly found it on Indeed. Like I hadn't seen it on LinkedIn, Handshake, anything. And I just ended up finding it on Indeed. And I think maybe those might not be as competitive. So if you're looking for something, I use all resources, I think, for sure.
Mhm. I think Indeed is like also more for like older generations. Like I know that's how my parents used to find their
Yeah.
jobs, but I know now with like HRSM specifically, Teamwork Online, like literally is how you find
Teamwork
everything.
Online is
But
the
I
best.
know, yeah, it's also just more competitive on there. But I mean, they get back to you like pretty quick if they
Yeah.
really want you. So it's nice.
Definitely. And I think also it's so important, like when you are applying to internships and jobs, always submit a cover letter, no matter if it's optional or not. If they're making you, obviously you have to, but do it regardless, because I mean, that's going to show them that you're really interested in this job and that you took the time to write that. And it's just another thing that can set you apart. And most of the jobs don't require one, so I would definitely do it anyways.
Yeah. I always put a cover letter, even like some of them I'll just like copy and paste, but it's still like if you just even like
Yeah.
copying and pasting for the specific one, like I have specific ones, so like different from like operations versus like broadcasting versus social media, like I have
Yeah.
different cover
Me
letters,
too.
but you literally all
Exactly.
you have to do is just change the team name and you're fine.
No, yeah, that's exactly what I do. Like I have a good base one that I use, and I just change out words, or I talk about like some of my coursework in one of the paragraphs, so I'll change out some of those classes sometimes based on the position, but keep it the same almost every time. Or if I like really really want a job somewhere, I'll like make a whole new one and um really try hard in it. But for the most part, generic, just that it looks like you took a lot of time and effort and thought into it.
Mm-hmm. Um, okay, so if you get an interview for an internship or a job, um, here are a few tips for you.
Yeah, definitely so. I think when I was first applying to internships this time last year, I was so nervous about interviews, and that's something that I still do get very nervous about. But I mean, it's just like everything, like it gets way easier and way more predictable the more that you do them. And now I feel like I just fly through them and it's so much easier. But what I have noticed from doing so many at this point is so many of them are extremely the same, and they're going to ask you the same questions a lot. So that's why it gets a lot easier. Just a few standard ones that I've gotten asked almost every single time is tell me about yourself. I mean, they're going to ask, literally any job is going to ask you that. Why did you choose your major? What classes have you taken that have helped to prepare you for this job? What is something you are bad at? That was probably one of the hardest questions I've ever had to answer. And then, like, explain a time where you had to make a tough decision. All of these questions that they're asking you, they're all to analyze your behavior and how you answer them. And so,
Yeah.
but there's interview questions are so basic and are so overused and reused that you will be a pro by like the second or third interview that you do.
Yeah. And like, I know for the ones where it's like, what is your weakness? I always turn it to make it still seem like it's a strength. So I'll be like, oh, like for me
Yes.
personally, I have OCD, so I'm like overly organized. And like I'll
Yeah.
always, that's like my go-to
No,
of just being like,
it's a weakness, but it's a strength at the same time. I do the exact same thing. I always tell them that like my biggest weakness is also my strength because I'm like so hardworking and I dedicate myself to so many things, but that's also like my weakness at the same time because like it allows me no time for myself like at all because there's just always constantly things that I'm worrying about that um and then I just get too stressed and then I hit a
mm-hmm,
maximum and there's no going back. But yeah, I think that's definitely an important thing is to turn your strength or turn your weakness into a strength and vice versa.
yeah. And then another one that like if an interviewer ever asks you if you have any more questions, always pull something out of your
Yes.
butt. Like literally make something up. If you don't know, like if I've
You
already
better
answered all the
you
questions,
better come prepared though.
yeah, yeah. Like usually there's some where like if it's a double, like you have an interview and then you have another one and they answered everything in the first one, be like, so like what is the work attire? Or like don't I feel like the one question that people typically will ask is like what's an everyday like duty that I'll have to do or like things like that. But in the sports realm, like it's constantly changing. So I would say don't ask that question, honestly, because they get tired when they get that one because it's not specific. It's very generalized. It means you didn't follow up, like you didn't check on like the tasks
Yeah,
that are already on there.
no, 100%. I have a go-to interview question that I'll share almost every single time I ask it. People always say that is such a good question. And people also love to talk about themselves, which I think is why this is such a great question to ask. But I always am like, okay, so career growth is something, and career development is something that's super important for me. How has your organization like helped you like in your career development? That is the number one question that I always ask, and people love it. So steal it if you want.
Yeah. And one of my professors was like at the end, like the complete end of the interview, if you say what is something that I could have done better in this interview, people like even though it's such like a direct and scary question to ask, like people do give you good feedback and they'll take into account that you want to grow and you want to learn,
Yeah.
which is like really good, even though it's kind of nerve-wracking to ask.
No, definitely. And also like during an interview, like make sure you're smiling. And I think cracking a joke or two is not necessarily unprofessional at all. I think what you should show your personality in an interview. Every single interview I did this fall, I told everyone that, I mean, this isn't that funny of a joke or anything, but it always made people laugh. I was always like, it's funny, like, that I want to work in sports because, like, there's not a single, like, athletic bone in my body. Like, people are like, why sports? And I'm like, well, I'm not athletic, so, like, that's not the reason. But, like, I just think, like, throwing in, like, small, like, comments that kind of, like, lighten the mood a little bit, especially early on, can be really good and kind of set a good tone for the rest of the interview. And I think it's also important to note that like you're not always going to click with the person that's interviewing you. And sometimes that can make you be like, like this might be, I really wanted to work for them, but I just did not get along with that person necessarily. And I think that could be a really good way for you, especially if you have options to kind of narrow it down based on, oh, like I thought that I would fit in better at this place than this place. And then also something to note is that people that work in HR, they are going to be hard on you and they're not being mean. I've like had to tell myself this so many times. Like I've finished interviews and I felt horrible about it because they were just so monotone, so just I was not vibing, and that's just their job.
Hmm.
Like they're with that with everyone. They have to be that way, and it's taken me a little bit to figure that out and not get upset over something like that. But they're
Yeah.
they're just there to ask the tough questions and see if you can take it.
Yeah. And then two like more points to add. If your interview's in person, always bring your resume because I like recently had an interview and it was in person and I had my resume uploaded, but it was like my older one and I had like added a few things and especially with like a new internship, like I got to add on there. And so I was able to bring him my new one and that's what he went over, but he also had my other one in his back pocket. Like, don't make them have to be the ones to print it out. Like, always be professional, have
Yeah.
that, and have your business card. Um, and then if your interview is online or over the phone, smile. Like, they can hear it in your voice. Um, but also, if it's like a short interview, it's okay. Like, I know that's scary because the in person ones are usually like 30 minutes to an hour, but I've had phone interviews that are like 10, 15 minutes, and I've gotten those, and it's scary, like being like, oh, that was such a short interview. I don't know if that was good or not. It's just questions like that
Mm-hmm.
they ask, and it's harder for them to kind of get more like out of you or just like questions that are more personalized just because you guys aren't face to face and there is that remote aspect. But I would say go into it with a smile. Don't be scared if it's short. Always like follow up
Mm-hmm.
with an inter or with an email after.
Yes, 100%. I was gonna say that I always try to do the follow-up emails 24, at least 24 hours after, but I usually do 24 to 48 hours after an interview. Awesome. So like definitely landing your dream internship. I think there's a lot of things that you can do to really help yourself, and 100% the first one is to find your niche and find what you are really good at. And obviously, this takes a lot of time, and this is why we do internships because you learn what you like and what you don't like. So, for example, like I talked about a little happy last semester, working there, I ran the social media for her and helped her plan like in-store events. I had a great time, but I realized that like that was just not for me. like being a retail major, I think a lot of people automatically think of the fashion side of things. I want to go work for Gucci, I want to go work for Nordstrom, and I kind of felt like that wasn't for me 100%. So I love golf, so I ended up just randomly applying for the PGA merchandise internship. Took that, did that, loved that so much, and I knew 100% after that I wanted to work in sports merchandising. So I think just like finding your niche and finding what you're really good at and what you're passionate about is how you do end up landing your dream internships, because your passion for the industry and for the job like really does show through when you're interviewing. And it's so much easier
Mm-hmm.
to talk in interviews when you're passionate about it. And so I think that is 100% truly like how I landed the job with the Miami Dolphins, working in their retail department, because like I am truly like so passionate about retail and especially about sports retail that like they really like saw that through my interview.
Yeah. And I think like I take like pretty much any opportunity, even if it's volunteer work, to go to do an athletic event. Like even I did South Carolina high school playoff games, doing all of their promotional work and
Mm,
like taking pictures for their Instagram and everything like that. And I've realized that that was something that I liked to do, just being able to be on the field, taking those pictures, being able to like operate who needs to be where at what time and like the video board, all of those kind of things.
mm,
And then my current one is with the fan experience and game day experience. And I like it to an extent. I actually had the opportunity to like follow around our like lead sales associate for all of the like season passes and everything like that, and we do seat visits and I love doing that, but I don't like so much being at the table and like having to answer people's customer service questions. Like I realized that that's just not for me, but I get to follow Allison around now, which is so much more my speed. Um,
yeah.
but the one that I'm about to have is with marketing and promotion again, and I did apply for a bunch of other positions through other organizations, but it was like stadium operations and things like that. And I realized after interviewing that those weren't for me. I'm not the kind of person that wants to put down turf or like put down the tarps over
Yeah.
the fields and things like that. But it takes kind of landing internships that you don't like. If that's the only opportunity that you have at the moment, just say yes, just go with it. Um, and then
Definitely.
eventually, like, you will find what you want to do.
Definitely. And I think something that especially this was more of a thing for me last time I was applying for internships, last winter, was like getting my hopes up about certain jobs. There was this one summer internship that I really, really, really wanted, and I like had made it to the last interview, and I really thought that I was just getting this job, and I did not get it, and it was very upsetting for me because I just really put my hopes up and put all my eggs in that one basket. And so this is just kind of like a reminder, maybe not to do that. Obviously, I think that opportunities that are right for you are the ones that you'll end up with. And so that's just a super important thing to remember.
Hmm. Yeah. And then also, like, it's okay to take internships that aren't paid. Um, like, I'm
Yeah,
driving 3 hours pretty much every weekend, and like in total, it'll be 6 hours, like there and back. And it's not paid, but I know that that opportunity is leading me to other opportunities, and showing how much you are willing to do for a company does pay off, especially when you need recommendations or if a like position opens up where you can go a little bit higher than just an internship. But like my professor, he continued to tell us that like taking an unpaid internship that is better for your future can ultimately like benefit you more than taking a paid internship that you're not learning as much from and like things like that. And like this summer one, I get paid for game days, but when I'm in the office every single day, I'm not paid for that. But I know that that's going to grow my opportunity to be closer with them instead of just working game days.
Definitely. No, yeah, I definitely agree. And I think also um, just like when you are applying to ones that are really extremely competitive, I think like it is even more important not to get your hopes up. I really did not think that I was gonna get the internship with the Dolphins, and I'm so glad that I thought of it like that because I think I would have ended up devastated again, like I was last year. But yeah, I think it just all goes back to like the opportunities that like are meant for you will come, and you'll have like a gut feeling that that's the one that you should do. I had two other offers on the table at the time that I had the offer at the Dolphins, and so just, I just really just it was a heart. I had to choose with my heart and gut instincts, and just had to decide what was the best. And I mean, everybody's situation is different in terms of like we said, like the housing, rent, what they were paying me, the benefits, like all of those things are different everywhere. So I think if you have options, it's definitely important to evaluate all of it and talk to your parents, talk to your friends, talk to your professors, and get their input on what you think is the best for you.
Yeah. I would just say like keep your options open at the end of the day and just kind of know like
Definitely.
what you're looking for in the future and just pushing yourself out of your comfort zone because that's really like the
100%.
only way you're going to grow your network, you're going to grow your connections and grow your opportunities.
100%. And I definitely think like before, especially when you're about to make a decision or when you're starting to apply for things, I think it's definitely important to kind of just like sit down with yourself and be like, okay, like what do I want like out of an internship? Because they're going to ask you that. That's a really another very popular question that they ask is like, what do you want out of this internship? And so I think just like knowing what you want out of it, it's going to make it a lot easier when you are applying and you are trying to make a plan. Because for me, like something that was super important to me was like for my experience to be very hands-on and kind of work with a smaller team. And the retail team for the Dolphins, there's only 7 of them, so it's like a super small team. So I knew that I would be getting a lot of hands-on work, which is what I was looking for. So I think it's just important to figure out what you want and kind of go from there.
Yeah. That's like how mine was too. Like another opportunity that I had was a team of like 25 people, and the one that I took, there's 2 of us. So I'm like
Yeah,
going from only being there on game days or whenever I want to go into the office to having to be there every single day, working with people that are higher than me in their meetings with them, like planning everything out is just such a better opportunity. And like being able to
definitely.
live in Charleston with my mom and like having 2 separate houses and an apartment, you know, it does open up a lot of opportunities. So like even if you are applying places and you're like, well, I don't know, you can literally make a map of like and pinpoint where all of your friends live, where all of your family friends live, like who would be open to letting you stay with them. And that gives you even more options when you go into applying and everything like that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, for sure. I agree. I think it's just at the end of the day, like, just got to do what's best for you and what's best for your career, 100%.
Yeah. Well, that is everything for today's episode. Thank you so much for coming on, Liv.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
The next episode is the I episode, which is a repeat of last season's episode with Hannah Youssef, same topics, everything, but just a completely new year, new conversations, and yeah, see you guys next week.